back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Excited about my next guest. We're about to go live on Amazon. So for you guys who are tuning in on Facebook, on LinkedIn, as well as on YouTube, we welcome you to the program. And we want you guys to join us in the chat. We will have the chat live throughout our engagement on Amazon Live. Now, Amazon is our primary focus for this conversation, but we will not be forgetting you. So if you guys do have something to say, definitely let me know. Rick Lenz is someone that is not a stranger to those who watch television or film, but he also is an author as well. His new book is called Hello, Rest of My Life. We're going to get a close up of that a little bit later. But Rick, really excited to have you on with us today.
Well, it's very exciting to be on, Cyrus. I really appreciate it. It's a lovely opportunity, and I've seen your show and enjoy it immensely.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Rick, I'm going to go ahead and connect with our Amazon Live audience, and we'll get started.
Okay.
And again, like I mentioned, if you are joining us on the other platforms, feel free. If you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to be able to drop those in the chat for us. We'll make sure that we be able to bring attention to those as much as we can. And also, if you have not gotten Rick's book, invite you guys to head over to Amazon to be able to get it for yourself. And you all are watching Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Have a great guest that's tuning in with us this next show. We're excited to welcome actor and author Rick Lenz to our program. He's celebrating a brand new book out this week called Hello, Rest of My Life. We're going to talk to Rick not only about his extraordinary career, but also what it's been like for him to bring characters to life on screen, and now also in a book as well. If you're joining us on the Amazon Live side of our program, we have Rick's book highlighted right now. So you guys can look down below. If you're joining us on your desktop or laptop, you'll see the book there. If you're on your mobile device, it'll be on this side over here. Also, if you'll click over in this corner, you can give us a follow there on Amazon to stay connected with all of our programming here. Rick, thank you so much for being with us today. Really appreciate it.
Oh, it's a treat, Cyrus. It's just to enjoy it very much.
Well, thank you. I want to say hello to Denise joining us from Canada there on the Facebook side. Appreciate you joining us, Denise. And we appreciate all of you, no matter what platform you all are joining us on. So, Rick, literally the book just came out this week. So I'm excited to have you back on to speak with me. Had a great conversation with you on Conversations Live, the radio show about the book. Do you still have that feeling of accomplishment every time you have a new project that's released?
Yeah, I sure do. It's something that you've aimed for since you began to write the thing, and or since maybe even you got the first idea for the book, and yeah, to bring it to completion, and actually to have it brought through you to completion is the way I feel about it, because I often, finish a day's work and I think, where did that come from? And it came from something bigger than I am. I'm always feeling. So yeah, it's a great feeling of accomplishment. It's also a feeling of gratitude that I was able to do it. So yes.
I love that, accomplishment and gratitude. So Rick, the creation process, and like I said, a lot of people know you. If they want to hear your name, Rick Lenz, they think about your career as an actor. You've been able to do some extraordinary work for our Amazon Live audience. You all can flip through there in our carousel. You'll see some of the projects that are here on the Amazon Live platform that Rick has been a part of. Have you always been a person, Rick, that knew you were meant to create something, that you were going to do something in the creative space?
I think so. I was privileged to get some piano lessons beginning when I was 9 years old. And I remember I did what I was supposed to do, or did the best I could to learn the piano. But along the way, I kept trying to write my own song, and I don't know why. I wasn't a composer and never became one, but I just wanted to do something, to make something that way. So yes, the long answer is yes.
And you've been able to do it in so many different chapters, pun intended there, in your life, as I said, on screen. And now as an author, do you find the enjoyment, though, of being able to create and then see the audience response? Is that connection you see between those two careers?
Oh, sure. Well, there's, people respond when I write, and it's not that far from being on stage with an audience. You really get it back immediately there. And in a sense, you get it back when somebody reads the book or somebody talks about the book, and it feels that same kind of, I don't know, it's like a little kid's reward that you're being appreciated and recognized. And it's there's a bit of, I think, in a lot of people, I know there is in me, a look mommy, and so that's always going on. And yes, it does pay off in that sense.
Yeah. And that brings us right to where we are now with the new book, Hello, Rest of My Life. And what I love about this book, Rick, and I had the privilege of getting an advance copy, so I had a chance to read it for our radio interview. And then, of course, when the book came out, of course, I headed over to Amazon to write my reviews. So our Amazon audience, you'll find my reviews there, as well as others already I see are coming in there as far as reviews, Rick. The character of Danny is such an interesting character because he is so much us. I think regardless of where the book is set, he is a people's person in that he knows what it's like to want to have the career, to
Yeah.
have life, to have happiness, but also searching for meaning as well. How did Danny come to you?
Well, it's kind of reflective of, I think, something that's in a lot of us, if not all of us. It's that the two parts of you that retire to your closet to, for your own self-reflection. That's the part that comes to that is at play in writing the book. But it's also, like most people, I love people and I love hanging out with people. So it's always a dichotomy. So in this case, it's a guy who's at the place in his life where he's enjoying his home life, but at the same time, and he's become reflective in the way that you do after you've lived a few years. But the connection you have with people, in a way, becomes even more necessary to you. So it kind of both things are part of Danny's character, I hope, and it's really fun to to play on both sides of that, and it's given me an enormous amount of joy, especially this one, because one of the characters, Danny's wife, whose name is Samantha, is it's kind of based on my wife. We have a long and very happy and very lucky marriage of 40 years now, and it's so it's been a joy all across the board.
Right. Kathy Hosefeld, who's joining us on the Amazon Live side, Rick, she asked the question: how tricky was a time travel novel to write versus a straight forward timeline novel?
Do you know, for some reason, I fell in love. Oh, no, I don't need a reason. I fell in love with Jack. I fell in love with Jack Finney's Time and Again a long time ago. And just the magic of somebody walking out of, in that case, the Dakota apartment building in New York City and going downtown and seeing the way the world was. Just in that case, I think it was probably about 80 years previous. And it's just, I found it thrilling. There was a moment in that book where he looks north from the Dakota, from where his apartment is in the Dakota, and he looks north and he sees the Museum of Natural History, I believe. And he doesn't think anything about it. And then he thinks, wait a minute, there are buildings between where I am and the Museum of Natural History, which means that he's gone back in time because those buildings were built in the interim. So it's that kind of thing fascinates me.
Yeah.
And I just learned how to do it by investigating the way people do it and then coming up with my own.
Kathy, I appreciate that. And Kathy, I just thought about as Rick was talking, I mispronounced your last name. I think it's Hosapple. So I apologize about that, Kathy. Kathy Hosapple is joining us on the Amazon Live side. Rick, to your point you just made, though, and what Kathy alluded to, for those who don't know, that is one thing that Danny is dealing with. The fact that if he chooses, because it does come down to choice, if he chooses a certain time, there are things that he may have, but there are also things he has to do without.
Yes.
And I think that is that. I think that's what I resonated with so much, Rick. And I think I mentioned this to you on the radio show. That was one of the things that really got me about the book, because we all make those choices when it comes to our career, our families. If I do this, what am I not saying yes to, or what am I saying no to in the process? And I think the other thing that's really real about Danny in the book, Rick, and I want to talk to you about this, is how realizing how his actions impact others. A lot of times we think we do things in a vacuum, but even as you mentioned his wife Samantha, there's an exchange that happens in the book where he realizes he's not being all present as as he might think. It doesn't mean he doesn't love her, but being fully present. What was that like for you to explore? Not only the time travel aspect, but also the idea of choices and the impact those choices have.
Yeah. Well, I guess I've always thought, or at least I've come to think, that we all, live in our own story arc, and with any luck, and with any kind of awareness of our place in the world, which is both very important and very, insignificant in a sense, that we need to be aware of the fact that we all grow. With luck, we grow. With looking in the right places, we don't make pardon me, we don't make some of the mistakes we made last year and the year before that. And if I look back to my youth, I was a loose cannon and did a lot of things that I wouldn't do today. And this is what Danny discovers in the book. He finds that things that might have kind of pushed Samantha away, even though he loves her deeply, he might have said, I need this career. I need this, and this time with the benefit of having, pardon me, I don't know what's, I think there's some stuff in the air in Los Angeles. They said some smoke is blowing through. Anyway, yeah. He finds that now, in realizing what his choices really are, which is to deny himself, not to mention his wife Samantha, some of the joys of what they've come to in terms of a kind of a spiritual connection, as well as all the connections that go along with a relationship. That's more important to him, he comes to discover, without giving too much away, than an acting career. And acting is back to, watch me in a lot of cases. I know I've listened and worked with a lot of actors over the years, and we get very involved in the process and the art and the craft and so on. But we also begin to learn to put it in its place. And its place, I'm going to have a sip of water. Its place is, it's one of those things that is part of life. It isn't all of life. If you're lucky to see that, and some people see it sooner than others. I've known actors who are wise beyond their years when they're very young. I think of Tom Hanks offhand, and a bunch of people who are just smarter than they should be from my point of view, but it took me a long time to get there.
I think that is it, and I think Denise there in Canada on Facebook says, "I'm sold. I have to get this book ASAP." You're going to enjoy it, Denise. It is a really great read, and I always feel like part of my job here is to not give the story away, but to let you know enough about the story that makes you want to know more. So, Denise, I'm glad that is happening for you. I want to say, for those who are just tuning in, you're watching Cyrus Webb Presents on the Amazon Live platform, but we are also streaming on other platforms as well. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, as well as on my YouTube channel at Cyrus Webb there on YouTube. Today, our guest is Rick Lenz. We're discussing Rick's book, you guys see there, Hello, Rest of My Life. It's available right now on Amazon.com. For those joining us on the Amazon Live side, you'll see we have it highlighted there. But also what we did in the carousel, we put some of the projects that Rick has worked on as well. You'll find those there, as well as his previous work, too, as an author, too. You have kind of the best of both worlds, in a sense, Rick, to come back to you, and then we're going to go back to Danny. Because I thought about, as you were just talking, that you have people who know you just as from what you've done as an actor. I've seen plenty of you've done. That's all they talk to you about. But now you have this new audience who's able to discover you because of the written word. What has that been like for you to kind of be able to bring both of them together?
Well, it's fascinating, because when my first book came out, which was called North of Hollywood, which was a memoir, people talked about my acting career and about me as an actor. And then with the next couple of books, there was a lot of that also. But this time I'm finding that people are talking to me more about about the writing, which is what I've have, I've been a writer now for, a number of years. And I always was a playwright as well as an author of books. And so writing is a big part of my life, always has been. But it's very interesting to see the crossover of interest, and I'm grateful for it, uh, for the writing part of what I'm doing now. And yeah.
Yeah, I think that is the really cool thing there. To go back to Dan, and also to go back to Danny, one of the chapters of the book that really struck me that I want to make sure that we mentioned here, Rick, is chapter 16, Making Beauty. And what I love about that chapter is not only, of course, we see Danny kind of navigating through the worlds that he's in. I'll put it that way, but also the reflections that he's able to have. There's that one scene that you write, and I want to read it because I think it's a great thing about reflecting on life and appreciating life for the simple things. There you write, of course, as Danny, looking out at the football field. I remember what it felt like to be a boy, running out into the field, leaping as high as I could and catching or simply trying to catch a football. I could smell the grass. Although it was a sense memory, the Valley College football field had artificial turf. I felt good and young. Deep inside me, I had a flash of that exhilarating, youthful, immortal feeling. What was it like for you to show the importance of the simple things there?
Well, that was an actual moment that happened to me, and it was right before. Um, uh, I can't think of the man's name who was killed in Chicago, and at that moment, right after the scene you read, he gets a call, or no, he hears the alert, which is the mayor of Los Angeles saying, "Go inside." There's a what do they call it? When you have to go back in your houses. Uh, Never mind. We could spend half an hour while I look for that word. Anyway, we all had to go inside because there was, craziness going on, and justifiable rage, on the parts of lots of people. So that's, that moment is really informed by that, but it's also informed by that thing that I think we all have, which is, those some of those things of youth, those sense memory things, which can be so real and so rewarding, and both kind of rewarding and nostalgic, and you feel the past with some longing, and yet if you're lucky, you can keep that longing, kind of encapsulated in an area of your existence where you use it to your benefit, and you move ahead to what's next, and you get colored by the good things and leave the loose cannon and crazy stuff behind you, and with any luck you grow.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think growth is one of the things that Danny does, even though he is a grown up. I mean, we're able to see his growth.
Not always.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. But we're able to see his maturity and appreciate it. And I think that goes to another point there, Rick, that you show in this book. I think our priorities definitely change with time, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's one thing I think Danny sees is what looked like was the most important thing at one time. Now
Right.
that he's experienced something else,
Right.
he realizes what really matters, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah, so
think
I
that,
have to ask you this: just like we know that television shows change, movies change, books change. I've spoken to authors on this program, Rick, that have said they set out to write one type of book, and the characters kind of took over. Is this
yeah.
the book that you intended to write, or did it also evolve?
It was a bit of both. I knew that, I knew I don't want to spoil the ending, but I knew kind
Yeah,
of where it would end, and I knew what it was about, and I knew what, when he was cast out of this time into the shank of his career, I knew what he would be feeling, because, I can feel it right now as I think about those times when, it was all, lovely and good and new and fresh. And I just come out from New York I'd gone from Michigan to New York for 10 years and then come out to Los Angeles. And it was so exciting. It was wonderful. On the other hand, there, as we learn, a lot of times there comes some pain with it.
Yeah.
And if you learn to get rid of that pain, and you learn that maybe some of the way to do that is to learn to look for the best parts of yourself, which may not have anything to do with look at me, which
Right.
in a sense is a lot of what being an actor is.
Yeah, what a great point. Rodrigo, thank you so much for joining us on the Amazon Live side. Appreciate that. Appreciate your tuning in and watching us as well. And again, we appreciate you all that are coming in. I see you guys there on the YouTube side as well. Appreciate you all being with us and those who are hanging out with us on Facebook as well. We're going to let you guys know how to stay connected with Rick, but definitely to get the book, we want to make sure that you do head over to Amazon. Again, Hello Rest of My Life is the title of it. You all see it there. We're going to remind you of that. Last thing I want to mention about the book that, and I don't want to spoil it for them either, but I love the fact that you did not make Danny perfect. Was
Oh
that
gosh.
intentional? That you made him, even though he is the star, we'll say, to use that analogy of the story, you did not make him without his own shortcomings and flaws.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know how anyone writes a, a story with a protagonist that's based on his or herself, on himself or herself, without including the darker parts, because it's the dark parts that make us, the various colors, I think, make us human and real. And I don't want to read, plastic, or rather, kind of cut out characters, because they just don't resonate as human.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
totally agree with that.
yeah.
What do you hope people, when they finish Hello Rest of My Life, did you have it's entertaining for sure. And I love the way that you're able to take us through time, but also show us how some things are timeless.
Right.
But us being entertained by it, Rick, was there anything else that you wanted to make sure that the reader kind of held on to afterwards?
Yeah, two things I would say offhand. One is that true love is possible. I'm able to look at my wife Linda and find in her every day. I mean, I don't mean it's constant. I don't mean that we don't ever have words, but for the most part, I find new wonderful things about her constantly. This is not an experience I had earlier in my life, and just to say that that's possible is a character point for Danny, and for Samantha, his wife. And the other thing is that when I was looking for the time travel technique, I had some therapy, which, and I know sounds like a Hollywood cliche, but for me, I needed it for a while, because I got, all my head out of, I got myself out of kilter for a while when I was a young actor. And so I got some therapy, some psychotherapy. And so I needed that. But that led me to, I just was passing a television set one night, and I watched, I think it was Wayne Dyer maybe, and he was doing a fundraiser for PBS, and he was talking about the smallest particle of matter in the world, inside a molecule and an atom and a quark is nothing but pure energy. And I began to think about that. And I started to do spiritual reading and realized that we are all of us made from pure energy. And that was fascinating to me. And so that is part of the time travel motif. And it's part of what made me, happy to be, writing about what is of value in life to both Danny and it turns out, I hope, to the people around him, not
Yeah.
because of him, but because that's the way life seems to be to me.
Yeah, what a great thing. Earl says on the Amazon Live side, great sneak peek at the book. Thank you for that, Earl. Appreciate that. And David Huffstetler on Facebook says, True love, I've been married 50 years. Yes, real. Appreciate that, David, and congratulations to you. And I think, for our audience out there, I think this book is so engaging, it's so entertaining. Yes, there is a time travel piece, but it really is, as I've said earlier, as a reader, it felt like about us. It was about us as individuals, how we really find happiness, contentment, what really matters to us, and what we're willing to do for what we love. And that's one of the challenges that Danny definitely sees. So again, the book is Hello, Rest of My Life. You all see it there, available right now on Amazon. And Rick, how can they stay connected with you?
Well, they can do that by getting in touch with ricklenz.com, and they'll see my website, and they can reach me that way, or they can see all the stuff that I've been involved with through my fairly long life now.
Well, Rick, this has been another great joy for myself. It was a
Oh,
great conversation with you on the radio, and I'm so glad to have this
yeah.
on-camera interview with you for Amazon Live.
Thank you. Thank you, Cyrus. It's a joy to talk to you.
I appreciate that. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Make sure you guys do give us a follow here on Amazon Live. Again, if you have not done so already, you all can find the button here on this corner if you're on your desktop or laptop. If you're on your mobile device, it'll be below you guys. Make sure you guys give us a follow. Stay connected with our programming here 7 days a week. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day. We'll be back with you shortly. Take care.
Thank you, Cyrus.